Hi there, I'm Corey Perez with YV Wine Country Properties, and I wanted to talk to you today as a first-time home buyer or a buyer in general about the home buying process and help you get prepared so that you know what's going to happen and you're excited and you're not as afraid as you might be right now, okay? So here's the thing. The very first part of working together is going to be talking to me. Okay. The very first step on the home buying journey is talking to me. I will help guide you. We will sit down, phone, Zoom, in person, whatever works, and we will discuss what is important to you. We will discuss what your current situation is really. And once I discover those things from you, basically I can help you in going into the very, very first step. Okay. So the first step in the home buying process, after you've talked to me, is to get pre-approved. So the pre-approval process is really important because it unlocks a lot of value for you, okay? We can unlock savings, and it is just the most important part of this process to get you the best deal possible. Okay. So here's the thing, there are many different types of lenders. Not all are built the same. Okay. There are banks, there are credit unions, there are mortgage brokers, there are hard money lenders, there are all kinds of different people who can help you purchase a property. However, they are not all built the same and they do not all have the same programs. So going through this process and sitting down with me, I will help you navigate this early stage and help you find the right lender based on your situation. Now, there are also programs like down payment assistance programs. There are incentives. There are different programs if you're a teacher or a firefighter or a first responder of any kind. There are just so many different options. And so really getting down to the heart of who you are and what you need is going to get us to the right place. Okay. So let's talk about this a little bit more. Now, one of the things about working with a lender is that they will become our partner in this transaction. They will help guide the listing agent along with me on how to discuss the offer with the seller. They're going to get you verified, which means they're going to review your assets. They're going to look at your bank account statements and your pay stubs just to verify everything is the way it's supposed to be and that you're good to go. Now, this will almost make you a cash buyer. Now, of course, you're still getting a loan, so there are things that could come up. However, as a cash buyer, your offer is going to look so much stronger to any seller. Okay. All right. So the next part of the real estate journey, we'll call it, is the home search portion. The most fun, if you ask me, okay? For most people anyway. So most agents, they will put their homes, once they've listed them, they'll put them on the MLS. Most buyers will see them on Zillow or Realtor.com or some other site, but basically it is all information that's coming from the MLS. So how are we different? Well, with us, you're going to see all of the properties that are on the market through the MLS. Anyone listed by any agent in our association and outside of our association will be in the MLS and we'll have access to it, and we can definitely show you those properties. However, there's more properties out there. So some of the things that we like to do is we like to look at expired listings, closed, not closed, canceled, and withdrawn listings. We like to look at new homes as well. Now, one of the things about new homes is you may see some homes listed, but those are not the only homes that builder is building, right? They may have a different neighborhood. They may have a different community. They may have different floor plans that they just haven't built out yet. So this could be an opportunity for you to build exactly what you're wanting, but not everyone tells you that. Okay. So there's more. We are, oh, yes. Sorry, I keep looking at my notes because I'm so excited and I was afraid I might miss something. Anyway, okay. So another thing is basically with the homes that are expired, withdrawn, um, canceled. Those are homes that basically someone has already identified as wanting to sell. Okay. Now, there's other properties where a seller has already told us, I want to sell my home, but I don't want to list it, which is okay. They don't have to, right? But when we know about them, we can go to the seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller, we have a buyer who's interested in looking at your property. Would you mind showing it to them? Or allowing us to show it to them rather. And basically, we can get in there when no other agent may know about that property. So don't feel like Realtor.com and Zillow are your only options. Okay. Well, a lot of realtors, yes, that will be your only option. However, that's not how we work. Okay. Um, if it's not in the MLS, we may also be the only reason you see it. And that's not the only thing. I wanted to also share with you that anytime you see a property that you feel like you just cannot eliminate based on the criteria that you've set, maybe bedrooms and bathrooms or square footage or whatever those criteria may be for you, your non-negotiables, we will basically go and see that property, right? If we can't eliminate it, we want to go and view it and see if this is the one. All right. So after we have viewed properties, we've found different areas that we're interested in. The next thing that we do is we look at the market dynamics. Now, this is where I shine. Okay. So here's what this means. Oh, excuse me, what this means to you. We are going to look at the list to sales price ratio. Now, what that means is we're going to be looking at, did this home or the homes in this area, do they typically sell for market value, what they're listed at? Do they sell for more than asking? Do they sell for less than asking? And quite frankly, how much less do they sell or how much more do they sell over asking? We're going to look at the days on the market, and with that, we're going to look at how quickly homes are selling. Now, a property that has been on the market, let's say 30 days, and has no offers, we may get a much better value by dealing with them than a property that's been on the market for 2 days and has 30 showings and one offer already, right? So, one of the things that we have to do is really analyze each property that we're looking at and determine what the best approach is for you. Okay. So the next thing we're also looking at is the month supply of inventory. So this tells us how much the market is either a buyer's market or a seller's market. This kind of guides how aggressive or how non-aggressive we are in the offer process, which we're going to get to. All right. So next up is the offer research phase. Okay. With this phase, we're literally, if there's something you can't rule out, we're going to dive deeper. Okay. So let's say you have two properties on your list. One just hit the market, one's been on the market for 30 days. You're interested in both of these properties. You can't just eliminate either one. Now, we're going to go and take a look at the property, right? That's the first step. After that, I get to work again, and we're going to basically dive in and ask questions and find information. Now, a buyer's agent is valuable because of the information they gather, the information that they can share with you, and the information that they can take and use in your favor. Okay. So, one of the things we want to know is, why is the seller selling? If they are selling because they want to move out of state and they need to sell this home in order to buy their next home, that gives us information that we can use when we make this offer. If the seller says to us, through their agent, timing is the most critical part of this. They have to be there in 60 days. And if we close in 30 days, they're going to be homeless for 30 days. Then we accommodate that, right? And we, excuse me. We accommodate that through our offer. But if we don't ask the question, we don't know what's important to the seller. Now, just because we're asking these questions does not mean that we're giving the seller everything they want, but we're definitely getting information so we know how we want to proceed. Now, another important thing to remember is the seller has one house to sell. You can buy any of the houses on the market that match your criteria, right? So we're not trying to give away your power. We're trying to empower you. All right? Okay, so let's continue. Another thing we're going to look into is how much did the seller buy the home for? We're going to take a look at what type of loan they had. Maybe it's assumable and you can get a lower interest rate. We'll check into that. What if sorry, my notes. When did they buy? This is also critical in knowing different things about the property, right? If they bought in 2020, we know they have a low interest rate and maybe it's assumable. So there's a lot of different factors that when you dig in and do the offer research phase, you uncover a lot of things that may be important to a seller that maybe just would have been missed by another agent. Okay, now we're going to get to the components of an offer. You've decided that you want to buy a home. You've decided which home it is you want to buy. We've done the offer research. We know exactly how we want to proceed. Now we're going to talk about the components of the offer, okay? So first of all, we have there are 5 of them. There is the purchase price. Now, this is obviously important, but it may not be everything to every seller, okay? So the next aspect is closing costs. Have you heard that term? Let's talk about that a little bit, okay? So closing costs cover things like the title transfer, title research, taxes. Sometimes you'll be paying prepaid homeowners insurance. So there's a lot of different things that kind of go into closing costs. Typically, they'll run about 3% of the purchase price. Now, a good buyer's agent, depending on the situation and what is going on, will help you negotiate and see if we can't get those closing costs paid for by the seller. Now, not every situation the seller is going to pay them, and honestly, not every situation you want the seller to pay them. So let's talk about that and figure out what your best option is. Okay, so the next thing that is critical in an offer process is the contingencies. Contingencies protect the buyer. They give the buyer a way to walk away from the property if something isn't right. If something doesn't make them feel comfortable, they get to choose if they want to buy this property or not. So some of the contingencies that we're going to put in place, one is going to be a home inspection contingency, which gives you 10 days, depending on how we negotiate, to go in, have an inspector come and take a look at the property. Now, sometimes there may be multiple inspectors that are involved in this transaction. It depends on the property. Okay. Now, we're also going to have a financing contingency, which says that you need to get your loan and we need to get the appraisal in 21 days. All right. I will help you with that. Then there will be an appraisal contingency. There will be homeowners insurance contingency. There are so many things that are going to protect you so that if things are not right for you, you have the opportunity to walk away. Okay. So next up is earnest money. Earnest money is important. It is kind of like showing the seller that you're serious about buying their home. Now, the important thing to know is if you walk away from a transaction, we will use the contingencies to get your earnest money back. Okay. So earnest money is typically 1% of the purchase price. All right. That's that. Then the next thing to know is the settlement date. Some sellers may want a very quick closing. Some sellers may not want to close very quickly because they have another goal. Sometimes we close quickly and let the seller rent the property for a month if that's the best thing for the seller and if it makes your offer the most attractive, right? So we're going to explore all of these things when we're going through our offer phase. Now, once the offer is being submitted, this is very important. We want the seller's agent, the listing agent, we want them to know that we have all of our ducks in a row. This is where we will coach the selling agent, the listing agent, rather. We will coach the listing agent on how to present your offer. We will have the lender talk to the listing agent to explain your position, that you are a very well qualified buyer who has already been verified. And we will coach them on how to present this offer in a way that makes them comfortable, gets us in the front door, shows the listing agent that we're going to be easy to work with, right? All of these things are very important, and they might be things you don't think about right away. So now that we know what the seller wants, now that we've submitted our offer, right? Now we are under contract. Once we're under contract, this is where the hard work starts. It's my job from here to administrate this whole transaction. I need to get your loan in process. This is where I will tell you to get back in touch with your lender, the one that we chose, and ask them questions. Get that loan application completely submitted on this property. Next up, we will be submitting our earnest money. Then we will be getting the home inspection in 10 days. We will be working through the financing contingency, getting the appraisal done in 21 days. We will be possibly dealing with multiple inspectors depending on the property. Even if it's a new property, we want a home inspection because sometimes builders miss things too, okay? That's important to remember. Okay, so that is kind of that under the contract part. The art of negotiation is another aspect that not all buyers have on their own, and they really need in a real estate agent. You've got that, okay? So finally, well, one of the final things, we will get to settlement. Settlement is the point where you become a homeowner. Settlement, you will go in and you will sign documents and you will do all of these things. But settlement is when the money changes hands and the keys exchange hands in most instances, unless the seller is renting back or some other arrangement has been made. Another thing about this is we like to help our buyers save money. So we're also going to be asking if we can get a copy of the seller's title insurance policy, which possibly then could get your closing costs decreased if we can use the seller's title policy and have it reissued. Okay? So many important things to know. Now, the final thing is the post-settlement. That's right. So post-settlement, we will be here for you. Basically, post-settlement is everything after closing, right? You need a painter, you need a contractor, you need someone to come and, I don't know, sweep the leaves off the front patio. We've got you covered, okay? So anything that's house related, even if it's a bill that you receive and you're going, I don't know what this is or what I need to do with it, you will call me and I will help you with that, okay? I will help guide you in anything house related, okay? So finally, we're going to talk about how I get paid, okay? So I get paid normally by the seller. The way things have worked in the past, essentially, the buyer pays the seller for purchasing the property. The seller would pay the listing agent, and then the listing agent would pay the buyer's agent. Things have changed. This is no longer how it's done. So now the buyer's agent is paid directly from the seller or directly from the buyer. However, in some instances, I could be paid by both parties, depending on what is happening and what we negotiate. So oftentimes the seller has already agreed to pay my 3% fee. If for some reason the seller says, I I can't pay 3%. I can only pay 2.5%. I'm willing to work with you and accept 2.5%. However, if a seller comes back and says, I'm only willing to pay 2%, then we are going to have a talk about how we're going to get the remaining 0.5%. Okay. So, what that means is you'll be asked to make up the difference. This would be an instance where the seller would pay, let's say in this case, 2%, and you would pay an additional 0.5%. Okay. Now, this would all be done through closing. So, also, we can negotiate that fee. We can negotiate it into the contract, or we could walk away from the property and say, I'm sorry, but if you're not willing to help pay my agent, we're going to go on to the next property. Okay. And I understand that may not feel always like the thing you want to do, but we're the ones who have the power in this equation. We are the ones who have infinite possibilities of what to buy. The seller only has one house. Okay. All right, guys. So here's my contact information again. It is 509-901-3636. And I want you to text me, call me, DM me on Facebook, wherever you are. Get in touch with me. Okay. All right, guys. I will talk with you soon. Let's sit down, get a buyer contract going, and let's get you started. All right. I'll talk with you soon. Bye bye.